Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. So glad you can join us. The story that dominates in today's edition for Monday 24th November 2025 and brought to you in association with our friends at Antillean Group. Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister assures Prime Minister Gonzalez of St. Vincent and the Grenadines that her administration and party are not interfering in SVG's local politics. Details after this important message.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all, perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Welcome back. Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, SC, says her counterpart in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonzalez, should focus on accounting to his people for his 24 years in office, rather than on the United National Congress in Trinidad and Tobago. TTT News has more.
In a social media message on Friday, Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar rubbished claims from Prime Minister Ralph Gonzalez that UNC operatives are involved in the St. Vincent and the Grenadines general elections and are motivated by access to lands. She categorically refuted and rejected the allegations and asked Prime Minister Gonzalez to identify the UNC persons he claims are in St. Vincent or stop gaslighting his citizens. Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar also noted that the investigations into the acquisition of 3 high-rise luxury apartments at Victoria Keys have absolutely nothing to do with the St. Vincent and the Grenadines general elections. She said the investigations are intended to determine whether any fraudulent declarations were made, verify the source of funds for the 3 acquisitions, and identify how his family members were able to obtain a favorable rent-to-own arrangement. The Prime Minister concluded by stating that it is only a matter of time before CARICOM implodes if regional prime ministers continue cavorting around the region and interfering in the affairs and elections of member states.
The Public Service Association of Trinidad and Tobago has formally received the much talked about 10% offer from the Office of the Chief Personnel Officer. More in this TTT News item.
This comes days after a public back and forth between the PSA President, Felicia Thomas, and CPO, Dr. Daryl Dindial. Speaking outside of the CPO's office on Friday, Ms. Thomas said they were not interested in negotiations, only results.
Another promise made is another promise delivered. We have in our hand, delivered by Acting CPO Ms. Wendy Barton, an offer of 10%, which the PSA will be responding to by this evening, because as we have said, our main aim is to ensure that we close these negotiations and put some monies in our members' pockets by Christmas. And that stands.
The opposition has complained that the proposed 10% was not allocated in the recent national budget. The PSA president, said she's not worried about that.
The government has made a commitment, and I'm quite sure the commitment wasn't made just like that. The government will deliver. Yes, the offer is on the table, and I'm quite sure that the workers will receive their back pay.
House Democrats have introduced a bill that calls for funding to be cut off for American operations against Venezuela. Former top diplomat to Venezuela, Ambassador James Story, joins CBS News with more on why the U.S. may be building up military presence in the Caribbean.
As the U.S. continues to fortify its military presence in the Caribbean near Venezuela, House Democrats in Washington have unveiled a bill that would cut off funding for American operations in or against the South American country. Massachusetts Congressman Seth Moulton, who introduced the bill today, questioned the legality of President Trump's actions.
You're watching him orchestrate legally dubious military strikes while sidelining military lawyers and commanders who say that those actions may be illegal and could therefore get you prosecuted for following those orders. The Constitution is not ambiguous here. Congress decides when this country goes to war, not the president.
Since September, the Trump administration has ordered at least 21 strikes against alleged drug boats. More than 80 people have been killed. For more on this, I want to bring in former ambassador to Venezuela, James Story. He's also the founding partner of Global Frontier Advisors. Thank you for being here, Ambassador. Why is the Trump administration focusing so intently on Venezuela when it comes to fighting narco-terrorists?
Well, I think the president ran on 4 or 5 different platforms that centered on Venezuela. You've got the migration issue. You have the illegality issue. Tren de Aragua, obviously, is another piece of this. But fundamentally, you can look at the human rights abuses, the instability in the region, narcotics flowing north from Venezuela, the fact that Maduro is still in power after losing an election. So there's a democracy issue here. And writ large, the fact that they are working with some of our strategic competitors, Russia and China, but obviously also Cuba and Iran. So there are a number of reasons why the president's been focused on Venezuela. Obviously, the Venezuelan people have already spoken as well when they voted Maduro out of office last year.
And our partners at the BBC have confirmed 4 U.S. military aircraft were flying near Venezuela last night. That includes a long-range bomber, surveillance aircraft, a fighter jet, and a refueling tanker. Does it look like we're about to go to war with Venezuela? What do you make of the military buildup in the region?
Well, it's certainly not a counter-narcotics operation. I ran counter-narcotics in the Western Hemisphere for the State Department and also in Colombia. Normally what we would do is judicialize cases. We'd be using Whitehalls, Coast Guard cutters, and we'd be capturing people, judicializing the case, interrogating the crew, and indicting them for narcotics trafficking. What we have in the region is entirely too much firepower for that particular mission set. It's plenty of firepower if the president decides he wants to attack targets inside of Venezuela, and he has every option in front of him up to and including regime change in Venezuela were to choose to do so.
Do you feel then that that's the ulterior motive here?
I believe that the president under his first administration, when I was ambassador to Venezuela, he stated that all options were on the table. And those options are now at Maduro's front door. I believe that this is a pressure campaign designed to get somebody close to Maduro to either extradite Maduro to the United States or show him the exit in exile to another country or to leave power through some other mechanism. The president may find that the Venezuelan, this corrupt group of narcotics traffickers that call themselves a government aren't going to act just by pressure, which means the president may make a decision to ramp up the pressure by attacking sites within Venezuela itself.
Ambassador James Story.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick in association with our friends at
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
The People's National Congress Reform (PNCR) has called for a full-scale forensic investigation into the expanding luxury vehicle import scandal, which has exposed allegations of VIN tampering, fraudulent documentation, and large-scale tax evasion in Guyana. Travis Chase of HGP Nightly News reports.
The allegations, according to Mahipol, are too serious to be ignored and must be confronted with urgency and transparency. The Member of Parliament was at the time addressing his party's weekly press conference.
It's a forensic investigation. It warrants a forensic investigation. All dealings concerning evasion of taxes and the likes, all the exposures and so on, it warrants a forensic investigation.
The allegations against the local dealership include claims of engineered fake VINs, downgrading of engine specifications, and misclassifications of high-end vehicles to avoid duties. The outspoken PNCR parliamentarian hinted that the government must demonstrate that it is serious about Guyanese who continue to evade billions of dollars in taxes through various schemes and conduct a forensic investigation into the allegations.
So in short, we support the call for a forensic investigation.
The PNCR executive warned that failure to launch a credible forensic investigation would signal to the public that government agencies are selective in their pursuit of justice, thereby eroding trust and accountability. A former participant in Canada's Project Myra police operation has provided detailed accounts of a long-running cross-border racket allegedly involving a Guyanese auto dealership and a network of accomplices and shipping companies. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News.
Barbados' president, the Most Honorable Dame Sandra Mason, was the center of attention during a farewell military parade held for her on Friday. The parade, hosted by the Barbados Defence Force, was held at St. Anne's Fort, the Garrison. CBC's Nesta Henry has that story.
The Barbados Defence Force, Barbados Police Service, and the cadets participated in the farewell military parade for Her Excellency the Most Honorable Dame Sandra Mason, a fitting tribute to her service and leadership as the first president of Barbados. Delivering her farewell speech, President Mason said from the first day she took up the mantle as Commander-in-Chief, she has regarded the role not as ceremonial pageantry, but as a solemn responsibility to safeguard the institutions that protect the country's democracy, and to support those Barbadians who bear the weight of that duty with discipline, courage, and quiet sacrifice.
You, the men and women of the Barbados Defence Force and the Barbados Police Service, have served this nation with unwavering loyalty. As Commander-in-Chief of both services, I have seen your dedication, whether maintaining security on our streets, responding in moments of national strain, be they at sea, on land, or in cyberspace, participating in regional humanitarian missions, or standing together in joint ceremonial duties such as this. Your professionalism has never wavered.
Dame Sandra said she has witnessed firsthand the precision with which the men and women of the protective services train and the seriousness with which they conduct their operations. And she has been deeply moved by the camaraderie and purpose that bind them to each other and the nation. According to Dame Sandra, though she has held many titles throughout her life, including teacher, lawyer, magistrate, judge, and ambassador, the call to serve as Commander-in-Chief of the Protective Services has taught her the true meaning of leadership.
The understanding that leadership requires not only decisiveness and integrity, but humility and gratitude. And so today, more than anything else, I stand here to say thank you. Thank you for the respect you have shown to the office of the President. Thank you for the courtesies you have extended to me, both publicly and privately. Thank you for your steadfast commitment to Barbados, often without fanfare, without recognition, and without expectation of reward.
Dame Sandra is also extending gratitude to the leaders of the protective services who guided her along the way, as well as the aide-de-camps who walked at her side and guided her through administrative and ceremonial duties.
As I demit office, I do so with full confidence in the future of our island's armed and protective services. The excellence you demonstrate, the standards you uphold, and the discipline you display are worthy of the highest commendation. I am assured that you will continue to defend this nation and represent it with honor in all theaters, local, regional, and international.
President Mason is also praising the Barbados Cadet Corps for being of service to her during her tenure and for honoring her with a parade and special drill on her birthday on January 17th for the past 8 years. The president was presented with several gifts during the parade. Nesta Henry, CBC News.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean.
In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.